Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. On behalf of Holt Construction, welcome to our series, Get to Work on Terminal 8, the strategic programming we have created in partnership with American Airlines to engage, inform, and hire certified MWBEs, LBEs, and members of Queens community interested in working on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion. My name is Chris Asara, and I serve as president of Holt Construction, a family-owned and operated full-service construction management and general contracting firm. If you have never worked with Holt before, you should know that when it comes to diversity and inclusion, our commitment is built from the top down and from the inside out. We have taken on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion like all of our other projects, and that includes creating a tailored, unique, and comprehensive diversity plan. I'm excited to kick off today's session, and I hope you find the information engaging and informative. On behalf of Holt, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us, and I look forward to connecting and working with you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We are now in our third week of American Airlines and Holt Construction's Opportunity Fridays. We hope you're enjoying the sessions. We are eager to learn about what additional topics you may be interested in learning more about to help you grow your business and gain contracts with American Airlines, the Terminal 8 project, and Holt Construction. Today's session, How Do I Find the Right Project for My Company, will help you continue that journey. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Renee Sachs, President of Sachs Communications. She is valued by her clients as a trusted consultant and advisor on issues of strategic business development and marketing communications in construction and infrastructure. A former university administrator and educator, Dr. Sachs develops technical assistance programs that serve to help small businesses, especially minority and women-owned businesses. Today, Renee will introduce you to the elements of how you identify and evaluate whether a project is right for you and your company. She will share some strategies and tools to help you decide whether to go after a project or whether it may or may not be the best fit. To achieve this, she will review the elements of a go or no-go assessment. What is most important for you to take away from today's session is that you need to find the right project and you need to prepare yourself to win it. Now let me turn this over to Renee.
My name is Renee Sachs, and today we're going to look at the topic of how do I find the right project for my company. Identifying the right project that matches your company's capabilities and competencies and financial ability is key to doing good business. If a project is too large and you're not able to handle it, there's no chance you're going to win it. So one of the things we're going to do today is to look at some of the factors that affect how you find the right project for your company. Here's what we're going to learn. One, is a project right for you? How to evaluate your company, your competitive edge, inside and out, looking at internal and external factors. How to bid unknowns, what you don't know. And then how to use an evaluation tool to determine if this is a go or no-go project for you. The right project is the project you should bid on. Bidding on the wrong projects wastes time and wastes money. So a couple of things first. You need to look at your company. You need to look at yourself internally, your reputation, your experience, specific comparable experience. Have you done this kind of work before? If it's brand new, it's not likely that you're going to be the top contender for that kind of work. Then the question is, what should you be doing? I'll look at your team. Do you have the right people? Do you have the best people on board now? Do you need to add? Do you need to retrain? Your team is very important. What are your key differentiators? So I always look at my company, and I want you to look at your company today, and you can even write it down. What are the top 3 differentiators that make your company different, that distinguish you from all of your competitors that you can sell when you bid on a job? Your financial capabilities. Can you take the project? Will you have the right kind of funding that will allow you to stay in line with the payment procedures that you're getting? And should you be looking for a line of credit? Should you be looking to support that so you can be financially viable? And there's some new fintech products that also can help you fund your company during a project. So there are things to look at. Your bonding line and insurance. Do you have bonding? If you don't, and the project requires it, you can't bid. You're just wasting time. You need to figure out how to start getting a bonding line, talking to your accountant and talking to your bank to see if they can help you. And also insurance. You need to talk to your insurance broker and see if you have the insurance necessary to compete for a project. While the Terminal 8 American Airlines project has an OSIP, an owner-controlled insurance program, it doesn't cover all the insurance. So you're going to need insurance, additional insurance for general conditions and general liability that you may not have. And also your safety record. We have a session next week, which is going to look at safety. Safety is critically important, and it's a key differentiator for you. And if you're having safety issues, check in next week so we can talk about that. Then you want to take a look at your external review. Who are your competitors? And how does your competitive edge match up to your competitors? Is it good? Is it bad? We're going to go to our evaluation matrix shortly, and so we'll be able to actually measure that. What does your client know about your firm? Do they know you? If they don't know you, they need to get to know you, and that's part of your business plan and preparing yourself for the right job for your company. Do you have a relationship with the client or the client's team? People do business with people they know, and if they know you, they are more likely to do business with you, and if they trust you, they are more likely to rate you higher in terms of getting a contract. Do you know who the other decision makers are, other influences that could impact your chances? Is there someone at that firm that just doesn't like you, or you think they may not like you? And sometimes we think someone doesn't like our company or has a bad perception. That's the time to go and visit and introduce. And today we're doing that virtually. So it's asking for a quick 10 minutes, but it's part of your external review as you look at a project. And then finally, do you have a business development plan that aligns with the proposed project? So if you're going after an electrical project that might relate to doing work on the water, and that's not what your business plan is focused on, you're looking at buildings, you're not even looking at transportation, you're looking at building related work, then it doesn't align. So there's a disconnect. So for MWBs specifically, looking inside the company and looking outside the company to what are the factors that affect a specific job. And then there's bidding on unknowns. So you may not know who your competition is. You may not know what the client thinks of you and your company. You don't know the right pricing. What is the right pricing? Do you price high? Do you price low? Pricing low is never a good idea, because if you win the job and then you can't perform, that reputation goes down the tube. And that goes to your reputation. Can you deliver a project? Are you a team that people can rely on? Do you understand the culture? That's another big unknown. What's the client's corporate culture, and what's the project culture? Is it something that aligns with you? Many companies today, particularly larger companies, have a corporate culture that relies on best practices for safety and risk mitigation and performance and financial capability. Are you up to speed on that? And is this, again, the right project to bid on? And then knowing what are the project risks. If you're bidding on a project, for example, in transportation or aviation, are there other risks and factors that you need to know about before you actually decide to bid on a project? So bidding on a project costs a lot of money. Many companies spend tens of thousands of dollars. Most smaller companies are not in a position to do that. But if you calculate your hours and the time it takes to prepare the right bid or response to a request for proposal, you'll find that you are spending that time, even if it's your own time as a principal or others in your office that are helping you. So bidding the unknowns is also part of the evaluation factors that you need to consider before you decide to bid on a project. So what I wanted to do today is to ask you to imagine a project. identify a project. It could be one of the Terminal 8 projects. And think about some of the factors that you would include as you evaluate whether you're going to bid on that job. So the best business person is one who can know that job's not for me. But for MWBs, particularly now in this very challenging time, bidding on all work seems to be the way to go. But it's not the most prudent decision if you really want to build your business and make sure that you can come out of this pandemic with a strong portfolio of work that you're winning. So what we're going to do now is go through a matrix. The matrix will be available to you. You'll be able to download it after the session today. We're going to talk about a variety of factors, and we're going to try to rate ourselves. So we're going to give ourselves a number, and we're going to try to arrive at a total number, which is going to tell you on a preliminary basis, I'm going to go after this job, or I'm not going to go after this job. I have no chance of winning it. I'm just spinning my wheels. And that's the most important business decision we can make. Do we take a job? Do we go after the job? And just on a personal note, I've been in business 35 years, and I've gone after a lot of work, won some and didn't win others. In hindsight, had I considered my chances of getting a particular project before I bid on it, I wouldn't have bid on it. I would have gone after other work. And so I'm going to leave you with a rule before we go to the matrix. And I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. There's an 80-20 rule. Most good businesses get 80% of their work from 20% of their clients. It's important to look at your clients. And so as we go to the next slide, I'm going to ask you to think about, imagine a project that you would like to bid on, or a client relationship that you would like to develop. Let's see if we can use the matrix to see if you should bid on this project. Is this a go or a no-go? So the first step is to answer every question that we have here with a yes. So 1, is the project funded and likely to move forward? That's challenging today. A lot of projects that have been paused are now being open to the market again, even if they've been awarded. I'm going to repeat that. Even if the project has been awarded to another contractor, many of the agencies and authorities, and even private sector companies, are rebidding work. Why? They want to get the best price. So this is a time to sharpen your pencil and see if there's work here. So if the project that you're imagining, or the client that you're imagining, I ask you to take notes on your phone, or take notes with a pen and pad, and identify that project or that client and see if we should move forward with them. The next question is, do you have the required capabilities and experience? Does the client think of you as having the expertise? Do you have a good track record on this type of project? Can you demonstrate your expertise to the client? If that's a yes, check it off. If it's a no, think of another client or another project. And I'll give you a moment to reconfigure your imagination. Question 3, is the project a match to the projects your company performs? Is the client asking you to do something you've ever done before? Many times you'll bid on a project and you don't have the experience. Specifically, you may not have the comparable experience at the level that a client is asking for. So it's really important. If that's a no, check off no. If it's a yes, let's continue. Will the project be profitable? So many of us, and I include myself in the community, never really evaluate whether a project is profitable. We want to do the work. We want to make sure our reputation shines through. But good business people, and I continue to meet them, and many of them are in small firms and many of them are in larger firms, and I learn from them, and you will as well, actually cost out what a project is going to cost, trying to consider the unknowns that we talked about a little bit earlier. What's the cost, and is there a profit? If there's no profit, check no on this list. If there's a profit, let's move on. Do you have the time to prepare a high quality proposal, bid, or presentation? Answering an RFP is very time consuming. very complicated, often requires a team. Are you ready to do that? And in certain situations, it may just be a bid, but even your bid and proposal should be very professionally done because it reflects on you and the quality of your firm. And so I'm, as a professional, I encourage you to get assistance, get technical assistance on whether or not you're able to do the right kind of bid. Whether it gives all of your competitive advantages, maybe in an extra page. You can add things to a bid. You don't have to go extensively into lots of documents, but you can make sure that the client knows that you have a good product or service to offer and that you're doing it in a very professional manner. So the question is, do you have the time? Last week, as a personal example, I had a request for a proposal. I had 24 hours. It was, it was one of those overnighters. Did I do my best job? I don't know. We'll see if we win the project or not. I will let you know. But writing an RFP, writing a response is very difficult. And in retrospect, it's really hard to say no. Maybe I should have. And maybe you should, as you look at a particular project or a client, to find the right one. I know we want work. Again, it's finding the right project. Are there other factors that could kill your chances to win this project? There's the politics of business and the business of politics. Are you in good standing with a particular client? Will they really consider you, or are they considering someone else? You need to know that. That's called industry intelligence. And you need to be savvy. It's not just responding to every bid. And I think you all know everybody's getting bid requests. I'm a communications company. I get bid requests for construction. People are not differentiating. You really need to make sure that you're on the right lists and you're getting the right bids. And you may need to pre-qualify with a client. That's a subject for another session, but let's answer the question. Are there other factors that might hurt your chances to win this project? If there are none, we're going to move on. The final question, do you have the experience needed to win? So in this imagined project or client, were you able to answer all of these 7 questions with a yes? And if so, we'll continue forward with the matrix. But if not, pick another client and see if we can explain the matrix and try to get you to the point where you're really on the right track to bid a project that meets your capabilities. So there are a couple of factors. This matrix is comprised of 55 points, and I'm going to go through some of the different categories and go through the questions. I'm going to try to do it a little bit more quickly so that you can gather from it. It's more than the matrix. It's also your understanding of how to do better business, of how to really be a sharp businessman or businesswoman, to be a business professional that really understands what's the right project for my company, how do I get it? Remember that 80-20 rule. 80% of your business from 20% of your clients will build your portfolio. While you don't want to rely on that all the time, measure your risks accordingly if you want to go after a new client that you've never worked with, and then you need to do preparatory work before. So does the client understand your role and view it as an important part of the project? Score it on the imaginary project I've asked you to put in place. Can you compete against your competition? Consider cost, experience, client relationship, current contract holder, or incumbent. Does someone have this contract? Are you able to bid against them and win? Give yourself a score. There's no incumbent, and always ask that question when you're permitted to ask questions. Is someone else doing this business for you? Do I have a shot? And sometimes having a personal relationship with the client or owner will allow you to get that shot. Is the project located near your office, or will it be large enough to establish one? That's a question. If not, will your project personnel be stationed at the client's location? So what is the answer to that? Give yourself a score. Is the project scope, schedule, and budget realistic? Can you do this project for that dollar amount? I had a request a couple of weeks ago for a project that was at a minimus dollar value. Great client. Once upon a time, I said yes. The last time I said no, because I can't take the project. It's not good business. And that's the same for you. Does the client see you as the likely winner? Will you win this? So what are these questions? What are they asking? They're asking whether you have a relationship with the client. If you don't, the score should be lower. If you do, the score should be higher and will continue. Have you successfully worked for this client before? What does that mean? Is it your turn to win? Do they keep going back to the same vendor? Is there a chance for you now? Is this a quality client that pays promptly? As the client is investigating you, you need to investigate the client. You need to see whether this client is a good paying client and it will keep the project moving with prompt payments. If it's not, if the client has a history of bad payment, and that you can judge from your colleagues or from associations that you participate with, you know when a client has challenges if you're listening, and that's important information. Has the client selected you previously? When? What is the client's assessment? Did they give you a good rating? Did you bother to get a rating after the project was finished? So again, you're building your portfolio and you're building your reputation with the client just by asking yourself these questions. Have you researched the project's relationship network? So what does that mean? That means that there are team members who might know you, and there are team members who don't. And team members are always changing. So this is an opportunity for you to think about how to introduce yourself to this client if you really want to go after this project. So completing the matrix is the very first step. Then deciding you want to win this project is next. And that may be the subject of some future sessions on our Opportunity Friday program. Have you been, there's another point. Have you helped to develop the project scope or other aspects? Many subcontractors have valuable information to give an owner and even an architect. And working with that owner or architect, as long as it doesn't preclude you from bidding on the project, you can give them helpful advice and guidance on a particular aspect or specification that will make the project more seamless and easier to execute, because you know your trade, you know your profession. And so look at that, but just make sure that you have not precluded yourself from bidding. And some government contracts do that. And actually, we're looking at that to make sure. So keep an eye on that, because you don't want to be precluded from bidding because you helped in developing a price structure or value engineered a particular aspect of a project. Have you been able to learn the selection panel's individual purchase preferences? How does this organization like to buy? If you're bidding, for example, on an OGS contract, do you understand how they buy? Are you really a vendor that can win this project? If you're bidding on a smaller trade project, what are they looking for? What kind of team do they want on their project? Give yourself a rating on that. And I realize this is a little preliminary and it's sort of magical in terms of what these numbers are, unless you have a specific project. But let's get through this. Then there's staffing factors. So do you have the right personnel with strong, relevant experience? I think I said to you, I've been in business for a very long time. I once met a very, very successful HVAC contractor who said, don't hire anyone unless you have the work. And I took that away. This man was very, very successful, had hundreds of employees, and he didn't hire anyone unless he had the work. But now I'm bidding on projects, and I may not have the right professional to win the project. What do I do? Do I hire additional staff? And would I get that? Is it feasible within the deadline for the bid submission? Can I retrain my existing staff to begin to do some of the work? Or do I continue to look for the right professional and have them in my pocket when I'm going to bid on projects that require this kind of talent? Or do I team with another company? I've decided not to talk about teaming on this session today because it's quite complicated, and MWBs have not had a good track record in teaming. So we've given you a little poll. I hope you'll answer the poll, and we can schedule a session in the future weeks that focus on how do you team, how do you create the relationship, how do you build a bigger and stronger company. But staff is very important. Give yourself a score on whether you have the right personnel for your targeted project. And finally, financial factors. What's the project budget? Do you know? Are those questions that you can ask? Will you get an answer? Can you guesstimate? Can you ask around? If you're dealing with friends in the industry, other larger subcontractors or prime contractors, can you get a sense or a range? These are things that you learn with experience, but perhaps you can get some inside intelligence or better understanding if someone would like to help you to come up with the right bid. At the end of the day, you're going to have to come up with your bid and you're going to have to live with it. What's the estimated fee? What is the expected profit? You need to know that in terms of making a decision to bid on the job. If there's no profit, at some point, you have to stop learning about how to do work, but rather bid on work that will actually give you a measurable and significant return to grow your business. And often smaller firms will take any work at any dollar amount as opposed to saying no. And that's what I'd rather go or no go is about. Does the project require bonding? Can you satisfy the bonding requirements? Can you satisfy the insurance requirements? So those are things that you need to ask the client in terms of whether or not you're going to need a bond or not. And maybe the client can help, but you need to decide that and you need to give yourself a rating score. You need to make sure that you can meet the insurance requirements. While again, the Terminal 8 project has an OSIP, you really do need to know whether you have the financial capacity to manage the additional insurance, which is not covered by the owner-controlled insurance program, the OSIP, and whether you can do that on your own. If you can't, then you need to, again, look at the project and look at whether or not this is right for you. Because bidding on a project and not winning it is not where you want to go. And then you really need to evaluate, how much is it going to cost me to do this? So I was at a recent meeting and a very smart professional said, we've invested in estimating software that has substantially and significantly reduced the cost of bidding on a project. This is for complicated power projects, and what ran to be $50,000 for estimating costs, which is actually not the highest. Some projects can even go beyond that. They have now gotten it down to $5,000 to $8,000 in terms of cost to bid a project with greater accuracy. So you need to look at that, and you need to take a look at what it will take to win the project that I've asked you to imagine. What does that proposal period look like in terms of dollars? What does the presentation look like if you have to make one and do one? There's time and money for that. And then what's the total cost? Does it make dollars and cents to pursue this project? And you're going to answer that question with a rating score. So now there are 55 points to deal with in this matrix. If you go back and count your points and you're 0 to 30, the project's a no-go. Now that may be difficult to accept because you want to get this work with this client, but I ask you to hold that thought for a moment. If you have 30 to 45 points, I think you should review and evaluate some more and see what other elements you did not do well on in terms of identifying whether or not this is the right project for your company. And if you got 45 to 50 points, which is close to the 55, you're looking good. And 55 points, it's a go. So when we started this program today, there was a poll that came up, and the poll indicated whether you had 1 in 10 chance in winning a bid, whether it was 1 in 5, 1 in 3, and even better than that, and you win every project that you bid on, which I don't think that's the case. If someone out there is winning every project they're bidding on, unless they're not bidding on a lot of projects, please let me know who you are so we can talk some more and we can learn from you. The purpose of today is to make you think about whether or not the projects that you're looking at are right for you. And if they're not right for you yet, what is it that you need to do as a company to prepare yourself to get ready to have a go project, not a no-go, in terms of bidding on the project and spending the time, money, and effort. So if it turned out that some of the results gave you a no-go, take a step back and see what is it that you need to do to present yourself to this client, to get a better understanding of what they're looking for, to translate your skill sets into measurable and practical skill sets that the client is looking for, so that you become a go on a project. And so with that, I hope I've increased your awareness of some of the factors you need to think about. We often don't take the time to do this. I will tell you, every major company does this, and they pass on projects that are not right for them, that they can't think they're going to win. And if they're going to say yes to a project, then they're out to win it. And that's where we want you to be. So if you're right for a project, bid on it, connect with the client, do your homework, do your due diligence, get the industry intelligence that's going to let you know that you're going to be a winner on this project and you're going to perform well. So with that, I'm going to close the PowerPoint and ask to take any questions that you may have, and look forward to taking your questions now. Thank you.